I'm really honored to introduce Joann Lo.
My parents are from Taiwan. They grew up there. They met in high school through a hiking club, and after my dad finished medical school, they got married, and soon after he actually came to the United States. He was sponsored by a hospital in Southfield, Michigan, which is outside Detroit, and my mom stayed in Taiwan and gave birth to my older sister, Tina. And then a couple years later, my mom and my sister joined my dad in Michigan, and I was born about a year later there. And when I was 1, our family moved to Warren, Ohio, which was an even smaller town, about 2 hours south of Cleveland, along the Pennsylvania border. And my younger brother Edson, he was born a year after that. And so, this is a small town, Ohio. We were one of a very few number of Taiwanese and Chinese families in the area. We definitely stood out. And I remember many times we go to the grocery store or the mall, and people would make fun of us. They would hold their eyelids out, say things like "ching chong ching," and it really made my siblings and me angry and hurt, and we felt helpless. Like we didn't have any power to do anything about it. But growing up Asian and growing up Taiwanese in this mostly white community definitely made me want to be like everyone else. And I didn't want to be the other. So when I was a child, my favorite foods were mac and cheese and white bread with mayo. And just mayo, nothing else on there. And whenever my family and I went to Taiwan to visit our relatives, I didn't feel like I belonged there either, though. And I was introduced as the American child. But I also just decided, well, if that's what they think I am, that's what I'm going to be, right? And so I think from my childhood on, I felt like the other. And since I didn't fully fit in here, and I didn't fully fit into Taiwan, I was trying to figure out who I was and where I belonged. For the second semester of my junior year, I went on an experiential semester abroad in environmental studies in Australia. And while I was in Australia, my best friend Jamie was emailing me with updates about what was going on campus. And what was going on was a big contract fight. And the workers went on strike for a short period of time, and Jamie and other students formed the Student Labor Action Coalition or they call it SLAC for short. So when I went back to Yale, I moved in with Jamie and 5 other student activists, and they all encouraged me to join SLAC. So I became a slacker, as we called ourselves, and met some of the workers. And they remind me of my parents, right? My parents who had come to the U.S. because they wanted a better life for their children. And these workers, many of them were people of color, and they were also just trying to take care of their families, right, and asking for a fair wage from one of the wealthiest universities in the world. But I mostly felt exhilarated and excited to be standing up for what I believed in and being a part of something larger than myself. And it changed my mind where before, in high school, I had felt powerless, and I had felt like those of us who are the other couldn't change society for the better. I was now feeling like we could. And that feeling was reinforced when a couple of weeks after the civil disobedience, the unions and the university administration reached a contract agreement. And so I started to think that maybe I would try a career as an organizer. So when I first started working for SAU, my mom thought, well, this is just a phase, right? You're going to go to grad school or you're going to go to law school, right? And so after I'd been working for the union for a couple of years, she came to LA to visit, and she told me that, after I picked her up from the airport, that she saw a worker in the airport wearing a union button, and that she actually told the worker, oh, my daughter is working on that union organizing campaign. And I could see that she felt proud of what I was doing. And on my own time, I followed the growth of the food movement, and I noticed how more and more restaurants were offering local organic food, and even my local grocery store would have a big sign, here's California produce. So in September of 2009, I was in a meeting with a couple of leaders from the Restaurant Opportunity Centers United, which it's a national organization of restaurant workers. And they announced to everyone that they had recently co-founded the Food Chain Workers Alliance, and they were looking for a national coordinator. And so I thought, this is perfect. This organization and bringing together worker justice and food justice and environmental sustainability. And so I've been there now for 6 years, and I feel like I found a home there. And now I feel like I'm proud to be the other, because partly there aren't that many other Asian American female labor community organizers who have tattoos and who are vegetarian. And I also, I know what I'm good at. I'm a good organizer. I'm good at giving people hope, because I have hope that we can change the world for the better. And now that I have 2 kids, my son Dylan is 7 and my daughter Ashton is 4, I have even more reason to fight for healthier food, a healthier planet, and a more just society. And now that they're older, I take them to actions. I try and talk about why we're there. Why are we going to this action? What's the work I'm doing? And of course, why we don't shop at Walmart. So, just to end, in case you're wondering, one of my kids' favorite foods is mac and cheese, but I have never given them white bread and mayo, at least not yet. So, thank you.